This movie, man, oh my God. It's been a while since I walked out of a theater with my mind blown and my heart broken and with an excited, empty feeling in my stomach. Does any of that make sense? Just play the intro. Across the Spider-Verse is the sequel to Into the Spider-Verse. And that movie was one of the best animated movies ever made. And one of the best superhero movies ever made. Is it the best animated superhero movie? It's up there. What made that movie an absolute banger was the great Spider-Man story, the humor, the pacing, the music. And of course, the gorgeous animation. The final act of that movie gives me chills. So you could say that my expectations for the sequel were very high. So, the big question, was this movie as good as the first movie? Short answer, yes. And initially, after walking out of the theater, I would have said it was better than the first movie. But the more I thought about it and I lingered on some plot elements and stuff, the more I realized that the movie isn't perfect. It's pretty damn close to perfect, but it's got some issues that I will address soon. First off, let's get it out of the way. The animation somehow surpassed the first one. There's multiple art styles used for multiple Spider-Men. Spider people? Spiders. But yeah, the animation is crazy. Every frame feels like a painting. The animators really put in work and should be paid more. The story this time was extremely fun and the action scenes were so exciting. However, sometimes it did feel like there was a lot going on at the same time, but it was never that big of an issue where I lost track of the story beats. All of the new characters introduced work so well in this world, especially the antagonists. Miles' relationship with his parents is explored further, and what I love is, as a Latino, seeing them speak Spanglish and his mother just being like a real mom. I feel like that was sorely missing in the first movie, but here it's just like apparent. That is a real mama. It's just perfect. I also really love how characters from the previous movie got fleshed out a ton more as well, especially Spider-Gwen. She's honestly a highlight in this movie for me. Most of her scenes were pretty great, but Miles, my guy, he is so cool. His drip, his banter, his schmoves, he's truly become his own Spider-Man, and he is so easy to love and root for. You feel for him when he's in tough situations, and you want to see him succeed every time. The humor in this movie worked so well for me. All the Spider people are super quippy, and some scenes are just so over the top in their art style, you can't help but laugh. And the music! Look, it's good, okay? Like, the soundtrack's right there. You go on Spotify, Apple Music, whatever the hell you're using. It's just full of bangers, dude. This isn't a spoiler since they announced it, but this movie is a part 1, and I think it makes it difficult to fully rate and review and discuss without knowing how it ends. Because if the next movie is incredible, it truly elevates the movie. But if it's like just, okay, just fine, it kind of hurts this movie. You feel me? So now I really want to talk about this movie more, but I have to go into spoilers to get my point across. So if you want to skip to the part where I just give the score, go to this timestamp. Okay, you've been warned. 3, 2, 1, spoiler time. Okay, so the main antagonist, what a delight. Spot starts off kind of like, a loser, but turns out to be really menacing. And I like that his presence is the catalyst for most of the events to occur in the movie. So nothing ever felt shoehorned in or forced. Well, most things felt that way. There was that one cameo with Miss Chen from Venom. When it happened on screen, I legit didn't recognize her. And I think most people in the audience didn't recognize her. It just felt like a weird inclusion. Like some of the higher ups were just like, we gotta include Venom in this movie. But nobody in the writing room wanted to. The other main antagonist is Miguel OHara, and he's just the #1 Miles hater. If Miles has 1,000 haters, Miguel is one of them. If Miles has one hater, it's Miguel. If Miles has no haters, Miguel doesn't exist. That's how big of a hater this guy is. To the point where it's almost over the top how much he just does not like Miles, but you get where he's coming from, and his backstory makes sense. But what doesn't make any sense to me is that this many Spider people would join this cause. I don't know, to me it doesn't seem super Spider-Man-like, and kind of the inclusion of canon events are a little bit ridiculous. Like, why do people have to die? It seems kind of arbitrary who dies, because it doesn't apply to every Spider-Man anyway. It's so strange. Like, I get that maybe a few of them would join this cause, but not like all of them. Especially Peter B. Parker. Peter B. Parker shouldn't have been there. It doesn't make any sense to me that he would be there, and also he was just endangering his kid anyway. He's probably the only returning character that I felt had nothing to do. Like, don't get me wrong, his interactions with Miles are great, and I think they could have had those maybe in the next movie or in a different scenario, but having him be on the opposite side of Miles made no sense to me. Also, he kept flexing his kid in front of Miguel, who lost his kid, Peter. What are you doing? The other Spider people were really cool to see. There's a ton of cameos and fan service galore, especially Childish Gambino, aka Donald Glover, playing the live action Prowler for a scene. That was an insanely funny cameo for me. Also, the Lego Spider-Man scene made me cry laughing. It was just so unexpected and so unserious for how serious the situation was. I loved it. You're one of our best, Peter. And I mentioned before that I really like Spider-Gwen in this movie. I think that all the scenes that she had with her father were really good, and you can tell that she had a ton of conflict going into the situation with Miles. She's just a fully realized character now, where in the first movie she was more of like a side character. And also, there's a lot more chemistry between Spider-Gwen and Miles that I didn't really get too much of in the first movie. Like, this felt like tension, you know? Unlike the voice actors, which I've seen those TikToks.
It's easier to be Miles flirting with Gwen when I'm looking at Haley.
When you're looking at her, right.
It's pretty embarrassing. But the best new character introduced has to be SpiderPunk. He's perfectly hyped up and introduced at the right moment, and at first you think he'll be Miles' rival, but you find out that he's actually the realest Spider-Man of them all. I love seeing people post clips of his scenes and seeing that he was like 10 steps ahead of everybody. Like, he was stealing stuff in the lab, and I didn't know why he was doing that, and I'm like, duh, because he was making another teleporter. He's the one that helped Miles the most and was just so badass. And his animation style was the best thing ever. If Fortnite ever makes a skin for him, they gotta keep that art style. And I'd buy it, okay, Fortnite? My last big gripe with this movie is the cliffhanger. And that's just because I really wanted it to keep going. I could have and would have sat there for hours with ease. But the ending was an incredible twist. Seeing the Prowler again and seeing that it's Miles who's the Prowler made my entire theater freak out. So hopefully the next movie Beyond the Spider-Verse ends this correctly and we get a Lord of the Rings trilogy and not a Star Wars trilogy situation. Before all the Return of the Jedi fans get mad, come on, it's just not even on the same level as Empire Strikes Back, and you know it. Okay, spoilers are done. Overall, this movie was the most excited I have ever been for a movie. It is probably the best animated movie ever made. But until we see the final part, I can't in good conscience give it a really good rating because it doesn't have a real ending until that final part comes out. So until then, I'll be giving this movie a 9 out of 10. But if it sticks the landing, it could easily be a 9.5. But what do you think? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you later. Also, let me know if you want me to review the Flash movie that's coming out. I wasn't really planning on watching it. I wasn't like super hyped about it, but if everybody wants to hear my opinion about it in the comments, then yeah, I'll review it. So yeah, just let me know. Okay, bye.